Hello and welcome to Grande Sports Center. I am Austin Arome. Before we move on the show, let's give you the headlines. Flying Eagles set for the WAFU Under 20 Championship. We'll get to talk about that much later on the show. And then we have the Nigerian clubs that are set with they are actually set with uphill task of the Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup competition. Second leg is set to take place. And then we also have results from the Europa League played yesterday by clubs in Europe. We also have the return of fans to stadium in the EPL and the EFL. We also have the news that the English Premier League club have actually agreed to actually bail out the EFL clubs with a sum of £250 million. And then we have a Nigerian boxer who is actually a cruiserweight boxer, Lawrence Okolie, in the news alongside the Nigerian Boxing Federation. Also, we are making rounds in the news. Actually, we have the Super Eagles watch, and today is sports history. But before we go for our short break, I need to introduce my partner, my colleague, Blessing Bassi. You're welcome to the show.
It's good to be here on the show.
All right. Before we go into the main program, we need to go on a short break, and when we come back, we continue. Welcome back. Let's start from the Flying Eagles on the 20 WAFU tournament that is set to take place in Benin Republic, and Nigeria will be part of those teams who are jostling out for a place in the CAF Under 20 Championship. And the coach, the assistant coach of the national Under 20 side, Tony Jalomi, has come out to state categorically that the Eagles are not actually going there just to qualify for CAF championship, but also they are going ahead to beat all comers in the competition that will be starting this weekend. Jalomi, who has also stated that the team was so unlucky that it has revealed that everything the team has done so far is actually the team is actually on the right track as they prepare to play their first game against Cote d'Ivoire. The team, as we know, they've been in camp, and you know the Under 20 WAFU Championship will be starting this weekend in Benin Republic. So, Ms. Blessing Bassi, what do you have to say about the Flying Eagles?
Well, I believe this is an all-expected Under 20 WAFU competition that we've all been, waiting for. And the Flying Eagles obviously have been making us proud, in time past. And the Under 20 team are, they are a team that will shine in the competition. If you'd ask me, they are expected to play Cote d'Ivoire on Sunday. They've been in camp all this while, training, preparing for that event. So we expect that they start that competition on a high note. So just so so they move further or far in the competition?
I think over the years, the national under-20 side, they've been a team that they performed so well, at the African Championship. But then the under-20 World Cup, we are not talking about the under-20 World Cup right now, but I just want to, make reference to that. Under-20 World Cup is something Nigeria has never won, and this is a team that has been together, since the announcement was made as in regards to the WAFO Under-20 Championship. And with this team been together for some time now, even though they've not played, they've not been playing strong friendly matches, so to say. Do you believe we have a team that can actually win the World Cup, the Under-20 World Cup? I'm just preempting, let me just fast forward a bit, then we can now talk about the Under-20 Championship.
Well, I think we have a team that can win if they have this positive spirit and they put in their very best in the competition. The most important thing in football is playing as a team. When everyone at loggerhead, the coach talk to these very young stars, and also the fact that the players are having this positive spirit to go into the competition. There's every tendency that they'll go far in the competition.
All right. Now, before we'll go to a short break, let's talk about the Under-20 team. I think the closest they've come to winning the World Cup, Under-20 World Cup, was the final. I remember in 2005, where they played against Argentina, and Messi scored 2 penalties. Nigeria lost in that game. Let's go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with Grand Sports Center. Welcome back. Let's move on to our next talk as we go to the CAF Confederations Cup and CAF Champions League, where we have 4 Nigerian clubs vying out for the next round of the CAF Confederations Cup and the CAF Champions League. The Enyimba went away to Rahimo FC, where they won 1-0 away from home. Then we have ASC Jarab actually beating Kano Pillars right there in Senegal by 3-1. And then Plateau United lost at home to Simba SC of Tanzania 1-0, losing at home in Jos. And then we have Rivers United, who actually went away to Futuro Kings and they lost 2-1. Now we are expecting them to play the returning leg over the weekend. Enyimba will be playing at home. Kano Pillars will also be playing at home, and Rivers United as well will be playing at home. But then we have a team, Plateau United, that will be going away with a 1-goal deficit as they try to overturn the loss at home to qualify for the next round. Now we have a player from Rivers United, Godwin Aguda, who has actually come out to state that the club is actually going to progress to the next round of the CAF Confederations Cup after losing 2-1 to Futuro Kings in a away leg in Equatorial Guinea. Now, Blessing, what do you have to say about these Nigerian clubs? How do you rate their chances of qualifying for the next round of the competition, especially the Plateau United side?
Well, I believe they just have to correct their mistakes because they lost in the first round. I think when they play the return leg, they should be able, especially Rivers United and Plateau United that obviously lost at home. They need to, work on those things that made them, lost that particular game, and when they go in the second leg, they have to work on themselves, play as a better team, and try as much as possible to get a point,
So what about Rivers United with 2-1? They still have to win the game at home, probably
Yes.
by scoring 1 goal and not conceding any. So do you really fancy their chances? Just like Guta is saying, that they actually is confident of the Rivers United team progressing to the next round. Do you actually see it that way?
Yes, if they have the positive spirit, of um, playing that game, I think they have a chance. They have a goal to themselves. So I think they should be able to play a better game and get a point.
So let's talk
And
about Enyimba. Enyimba, they were one team that actually did Nigerians proud. They went away to Rahimo FC in Burkina Faso, and they were able to pick up all 3 points back to Nigeria. Do you think it's actually Uhuru for Enyimba, or you think the second match, will be as tough as it gets?
But yes, I think Eyimba FC have obviously proven themselves to be, one of the people's elephants, or should I say, the champions when it comes to league football, especially playing the CAF Champions League. But at the same time, I think Eyimba is going to, win their game, clearly win their game. I'm judging by the fact that they went all the way to Raimo FC, and picked a point. So there's every tendency that when they come in, they play the second leg, they will win their game.
All right, moving on to our next story. We're not going to take any break right now. We're going to talk about the Europa League, where we have 14 teams already qualifying for the next round, the knockout round of the UEFA Europa League. We have Dynamo Zagreb, Granada, Bayer Leverkusen, Lille Metropole. We have Milan, PSV Eindhoven. We have Rangers, Antwerp. We have Benfica. We have Granada, and also Red Star Belgrade qualifying for the next round of the UEFA Europa League. Miss Blessing, before we give you more results, Blessing, I beg your pardon, before we give you results of the Europa League, I want you to talk about yesterday's game. We saw Arsenal, who have been woeful in the league. In the last month, I think in November, they were able to score just 2 goals in the league. A total goal scored by Arsenal in the league, Premier League, was just 2. But then in Europe, it seems to be where they have the strength. It seems they are doing it right in Europe, but then they're getting things wrong, with their league performance. They were able to beat Rapid Wien 4-1 yesterday. So what's your take on Arsenal's Europa League performance?
I think they must have they probably sit up in this game, and I think they've obviously picked up from the fact that they've not been in good form in recent times. I think they were they were so prepared for this game, and it came out well for them. The fact that they won 4-0 at home, at
4-1
4-1
to
at
Rapid
home
Wien.
to Rapid Wien.
So what do you think you can attribute to this performance, this poor league performance of Arsenal? What do you think you can attribute to that? You remember when Arteta came, we're singing his praises, how good he is as a coach, how he has been able to transform Arsenal, how he has managed to eke out a particular playing style for Arsenal, but then it seems, he has lost it. So what do you attribute to this poor performance in the league?
Well, I think there are a lot of managerial issues, especially when it comes to um, league, English league football. Arsenal has had one issues or the other, or the fact that players are not readily available at this point, or the fact that the coaching ability is beginning to dwindle. But at the same time, I think being a coach, you obviously need to, impact a positively in your players, and put in, players that will obviously make a mark at the end of the day.
All right. In other results from the Europa League, UEFA Europa Leagues, we had Cluj FC playing a goalless draw against CSKA Sofia. We also have Roma beating Young Boys by 3 goals to 1. We also have Sparta Prague winning 3-0 at home against Apar Beersheva. We have Nice losing 3-2 to Bayer Leverkusen at home. We also have Omonia Nicosia beating PAOK Salonikia 2-1. We also have Rangers coming back from a goal down to beat Standard Liège 3-2. We also have Benfica beating Les Poznan 4-0 at home. We also have Granada losing at home to PSV 1-0. We also have Real Sociedad playing a 2-2 draw against Rijeka. We also have AZ Alkmaar playing a 1-1 draw at home to Napoli. They also played Zoya also played 1-0 against Leicester City. AC Milan are winning 4-2 against Celtic. And Celtic, by the way, they started the game so well. They were winning 2-0, but then they collapsed and the match ended 4-2 in favor of Celtic. Then you have Sivasspor losing at home to Villarreal FC. We have our own man, Samuel Chukwueze, was actually given the man of the match in that game. I will get to talk about that later on the show when we have the Super Eagles watch. And then we have Karabakh playing a 1-1 draw at home against Maccabi Tel Aviv. We also have AEK Athens losing at home to Braga 4-2. We have Lille Metropole winning at home to Sparta Prague. We have Antwerp beating Ludogorets 3-1. We have Lask playing out a 3-3 draw against Tottenham Hotspur. We have Feyenoord losing at home to Dynamo Zagreb 2-0. We have CSKA Moscow losing at home to Pellet 1-0. We have KAA Ghent losing at home to Lebrec. And we have Red Star Belgrade playing out a goalless draw against Offenham FC. Now we need to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll give you more of our Grand Sports headlines. Welcome back. Now let's go to the English Premier League, where we have the return of the fans back to the stadium. Over the years in 2019, 2020, I beg your pardon, March to be precise, when the lockdown began, the stadium was also actually locked and fans were not allowed back into the stadium. But then we have good news coming from the English Premier League, where fans will now be allowed to come into the stadium depending on the position or the rating you receive from the English FA and the British government, depending on the tier you belong to. We have tier 1, where we have where the pandemic is not that prevalent, which we are going to have about 4,000 fans being allowed into the stadium. for teams that are actually in the area where it has been the pandemic is not that prevalent. That's where they call the tier 1. We also have the tier 2, where we're going to have about 2,000 fans being allowed into the stadium, and then we have the tier 3, where we're not going to see fans in the stadium. The tier 3 is actually where the two Manchester clubs belong to. But then in the weekend, we are going to see the first match where fans would actually be in the stadium, and this match is going to be a match that will involve Chelsea against Leeds United. Chelsea and Leeds United. Blessing, what's this development? What does it mean to the clubs? You know, the clubs they've not witnessed fans in the stadium for a very long time. As a matter of fact, since March, fans have not been allowed into the stadium. But right now, we're going to see fans in the stadium. But that is not without condition. Now, the condition they placed is that hugging and clapping is not going to be allowed. And, you know, the fans, they're going to sit, you know, in according to, you know, the social distancing rule that is placed in England, all over England. And then families can sit together. There's people who are coming from the same household will be allowed to sit together. But then if you are not part of a household, you are expected to observe that social distance rule. So what's your take? What's this development? What does it mean to the EPL club at this point in time?
Well, I will start by saying the introduction of fans once again is a good thing, is a step in the right direction, because that's what everyone has been expecting, because football without fans is obviously, you know, not as interesting as it should be. You know, so the fact that fans are, you know, back, if, no matter how small, you know, they'll still be cheering and chanting. You know, you still get to, you know, hear some particular type of noise, just so you know how it motivates the players one way or the other. But at least lovers of football will get to watch their games, you know, one way or the other, no matter the restrictions. We know there are strict protocols in this aspect, where there'll be social distancing and people will not get to, you know, meet each other, hug, or even, you know, rub minds, should I say? But
there's this news that, you know, because of the lockdown and the fans not being in the stadium, you know, clubs are losing a lot of revenues, you know, owing to that fact. But then we're going to have let's say, depending on the tier you belong to, we're going to have at least 2,000 fans in the stadium. Do you think it's actually a good way to start? 2,000 for, let's say, a stadium that has up to 40,000 capacity, and you know how much these clubs make from match day revenues, owing to the fact that, you know, the sell jersey on match day, and, you know, revenue they collect in terms of, you know, match receipts from the fans going into the stadium. Do you think is 2,000 fans is actually will it go a long way in, you know, helping the club financially? We're talking about the financial side now.
well, like I said, no matter how small the fans are, it's something to start with, because clubs have actually been on debt all this while, especially due to the fact that fans obviously contribute a larger amount to, you know, when it comes to financial aspects. But the introduction of fans, no matter how small, will obviously go a long way. I think with time, you know, when it starts with this, I think they'll get to observe how it goes with time. So I think with time, there'll be the introduction of more fans to the stadium, and with time, the little revenues they get from, you know, fans and the introduction of one or two things that surrounds it will come in at the end of the day. So clubs will with time try to, you know, get little revenues, you know, which will obviously help them, to grow.
Yeah, and I'm sure, this is actually, let's say, a prototype to what we are going to have, in the nearest future.
Yes.
Probably, they're looking out, for how the fans are going to react, and the consequences of allowing fans into the stadium. But before we can see, the number of crowd being allowed into the stadium, to being increased at this point in time. So is that what do you think this is what is on the mind of the English FA and the government of the government of England, so to say?
Well, obviously, they must have seen to it that football and fans work hand in hand, if you'd ask me. You know, um, what is football without the fans? People need to, support you. People need to, go out there and watch their games. So they probably must have sat down and look into, these certain things and realize that let's start with this, and even if it's as little as this, because judging from the fact that this as an introduction of funds also brings in money, and any financial aspect, they must have sat down and realized that, okay, this is what we need to start with. Let's see how it goes with time. Like I said, as time goes on, things will be better than now.
All right, let's take a short break round. When we come back, we'll continue. All right, welcome back. It's still the Grand Sports Center on the Grand Sport Extra. Now let's talk about the EFL clubs news. We have the news that Premier League clubs have actually agreed to bail out the EFL clubs with the sum of £250 million, and a deal has been reached with the club in the top 4 leagues to provide them with the money to help survive the financial impact of the COVID-19. The League 1 and League 2 will actually be given 50 million as grants, and the championship teams has also been given a total of 200 million interest-free loan. Premier League has also agreed to pay English Football League £250 million as part of a bailout for the rest of the clubs in the football pyramid. And then the club's finances we have clubs being hit by the coronavirus pandemic because of the fact that we have empty stadiums, and many are actually at the risk of going out of business at this point in time. And then we have this Premier League now coming in and stepping in to the situation now to cushion the effect of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, Blessing, this is a good one if you ask me. We have EPL clubs, League 1 especially, at the risk of going out of bankruptcy, and you know what that means. What do you have to say about this let me just call it a welfare package from the English Premier League? Let me see. I see it as a hand of fellowship, a good gesture from the English Premier League, if you ask me.
Oh, well, I'm obviously glad that football has, they put together this package, especially for the smaller clubs, and the fact that fans are obviously coming into the stadium, gradually. These league clubs are actually, have actually suffered, especially due to the coronavirus pandemic. It has really taken a lot, especially from football and the smaller clubs. So obviously the big clubs trying to support them is a good thing. You know, they've actually tried, you know, trying to, that's to show you how much football, the football, there's a unity in football.
Yeah.
You know, you support me, I support you. You know, so it's a good thing that the big clubs are supporting the smaller leagues club.
Right. Let's talk about boxing now. Let's talk about boxing, where we have a Nigerian, Lawrence Okoli, who is actually built to fight an undercard opponent. That's in the wake of the Anthony Joshua Pulev world title bout inside the SSC Arena on at Wembley on December the 12th. Okoli was actually due to fight Krzysztof Glowacki for the vacant WBO cruiserweight title, but the fight was actually cancelled as the Polish boxer tested positive for coronavirus. Okoli, by the way, is actually undefeated in 14 fights, 11 actually coming via knockout. Then he talks about his unbeaten record, and then 11 knockouts in 14 fights. Now, this is a guy who is actually not known to many. To some of you, he might come as a surprise to you. But then, what do you have to say about this young man, Lawrence Okoli? 14 fights, 11 coming via knockout, and then 14 undefeated. Is out of the 14 games, he has come out undefeated. It means, you know, he's a strong guy. So what's your take on Lawrence Okoli? What do you have to say about him?
Well, Lawrence Okoye is a great fighter, you know, undefeated champion in some major events. I think, judging by the fact that especially the fight was cancelled, I'm sure they were everyone was expecting to see a great fight from this very this man, but at the same time the fight was not held, obviously due to coronavirus pandemic. So
but then we have a fight which is actually, he said he's planning, and he has discussed about it with Anthony Joshua, you know, to stage a fight, you know, for the vacant WBO title, and it's going to take place in the wake of the Anthony Joshua Kubra Pulev game. So that's what he's talking about. So do you think he's worth the hype, or do you think he has not actually seen his match? That's Lawrence Okoli now. Talking about Lawrence Okoli.
well, I think obviously fighters will want to, you know, cover up for a lot of things that have that is obviously going. They'll obviously want to take off a fight no matter what goes on. But I think there will be an opportunity for him to, you know, have his fight at the end of the day.
All right, viewers, we need to take a short break. When we come back, continue on Grand Sports Center. All right, welcome back. Now, talking about basketball, Nigerian basketball this time around, where we have the president of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, Engineer Musakida, lamenting the non-existent league. The Nigerian League Basketball League has actually not held since 2017, owing to court cases, court litigations here and there, and the basketball president, the NBBF president, has come out to say that the reason why basketball league has not held since 2017 is due to the fact that we have court cases here and there, and this has not enabled the league to actually kick off. And then we're saying this morning that despite the fact that the league has not actually kicked off, and then we have the Tigers performing at the highest level. And what we're saying this morning is that talking about the league is so important for the development of any game. And then the basketball league in Nigeria has not taken place since 2017. Blessing, let's talk about this basketball league. Just as you know, basketball, for any sport to develop, it has to start from the root. You talk about grassroots, and then you talk about having a proper league. Then we have a situation where the league has not been played. We don't have a functioning league since 2017. So what's all this all about? Why do we have this, and why are we even talking about this?
Well, there's actually a lot going on, especially when it comes to the basketball league in Nigeria. I think the league, there's a court case surrounding the basketball league. I think there's obviously something that they need to come to consensus with. So if they could finally resolve that issue with the courts, I think that is what is hindering especially the basketball games in Nigeria. So things need to be readily settled on ground before the game commences fully.
So what's your advice to the NBBF, in regards to this?
Oh yes, I think the NBBF is very necessary, especially the fact that we need to commence that in Nigeria. Grassroots sports is advisable, especially when it comes to the fact that we have to groom talent. There are people who want to play, especially the game of basketball, and want to obviously showcase themselves when it comes to the game of basketball.
What I'm saying is, now we already have a situation here.
Okay.
Now the league has not been on since 2017. That means we are in the midst of a crisis. It's a full-blown crisis already. But then, if you are the president of the NBBF, you are in charge of Nigerian basketball, what are you going to do, to actually find your way around this, so we can have a basketball league back again?
The major thing is to think about getting the basketball league to kick off as soon as possible, especially with the fact that major competitions, sports generally, are back together due to the COVID-19. A lot of sports, yes, we understand that we're not available at that point. As the president of the NBBF, we should be thinking of getting basketball together, as a league game in Nigeria, and also think of the fact that you have to groom talent, set up academies that will employ these young stars, to come in, play the game of basketball, so that with time will be.
Well, if you ask me, I would say those involved, the stakeholders in the NBBF, I think they all need to, have a roundtable meeting. Probably, agree to disagree, because your interest is actually not more than the interest of the country at this point in time. So you have to drop whatever interest you have, to accommodate actually the interest of the nation. Now, us not having a league or our league on since 2017 is not actually a good thing to talk about. So if you are involved, you're a stakeholder, I urge all of you to have like a roundtable meeting, agree to disagree, and eventually end this feud that you have, so that we can have our basket league back again. That is that as it regards to the MBBF issue. But then we need to go on a short break. When we come back, we continue on Grand Sports Center. Welcome back. It's to the Grand Sports Center on Grand Sports Extra. Now we have a news here, should I call it a disturbing news, where the swimmers who are actually preparing for the National Sports Festival actually urging the Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Youth and Sport, to keep the swimming pool open at the National Stadium in Lagos. Yesterday, a group of swimmers from Lagos and Ogun State who actually wanted to use the National Stadium swimming pool for the time trials were turned back by the stadium management. It was also gathered that the sport ministry bent on privatizing the entire sport complex without regards to previous engagement, has restricted the usage of the facility. That's not a good one, if you ask me. That's why I termed it as disturbing, because swimming is actually an Olympic sport. And then if we're talking about moving our sports forward at this point in time, I believe the sport minister is thinking of, that's what he's thinking of right now. If we're thinking of moving our sports forward in this country, we should be thinking towards that line, giving us ourselves option to get more medals at the Olympics. And then swimming, over the years, this is the sport that has given United States many medals, and I believe we have able-bodied Nigerian men and women who are actually good in swimming. So right now, the swimmers in Lagos are talking about not having actually a place for practice. Blessing.
Well,
what do you have to say about this?
Yes, it's a very important. It's very important to me, if you'd ask, because there's every tendency that swimmers will need an avenue where they could obviously practice. At the same time, like you said, to move our sport forward, we need these things readily available, especially the swimming pool. They've been abandoned ever since the reconstruction a very long time ago. So we need these things, this swimming pool, to be kept clean. Things surrounding everything surrounding swimming, competition. And I think especially the fact that competitions need to be held in preparation for the 2022 Olympics. Yeah, so athletes need to prepare themselves ahead of them of that competition.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, I just also want to make an appeal, for the swimmers, because we are actually a country which with so much love for sports. And then we all watched the Olympics. We saw, how Americans, get the medals from swimming. So at this point in time, I just want to appeal for this, on behalf of the swimmers, for even if the national stadium is not going to be open for the swimmers, I believe we can have a place where the swimmers can practice and improve our sports and give us option for more medals at the Olympics, because I believe at the Olympics we have more medals allocated to swimming than most sports, if you ask me. So I believe swimming should be something we should be looking out for. It should be something we should be looking to develop, if you ask me. Now we're still the Grand Sports Center, but then we need to take another short break. When we come back, we'll give you the Super Eagles watch. Welcome back. It's time for the Super Eagles watch, and this morning we are starting from Holland, where we have a PSV Eindhoven youngster Noni Madueke has disclosed that he's open to playing for Nigeria at senior international level in the nearest future. Madueke was actually born in Barnet to parents of Nigerian heritage and has represented England at youth level. The youngster started at Tottenham Hotspur Academy at the age of 12. The 18-year-old has actually featured for his country of birth at youth level, playing for the under-16, under-17 and the under-18. The gangling forward remains available to play for Nigeria because he has not been capped at the senior level by England. Madueke has enjoyed a breakthrough season, moving to Dutch Eredivisie side from Tottenham Hotspur last summer. Moving on to our next story, let's talk about Samuel Chukwueze, where he scored his first goal in the Europa League this season for Villarreal and was named man of the match as Unai Emery's side beat the host Fevaspor 1-0, sealing top spot in Group I and progressed to the next round of the competition. Chukwueze started the game for Villarreal and scored the only goal of the match in the 75th minute. The winger tapped in from close range after João Costa low cross from the edge met him unmarked. He was later substituted from the game nearly after his goal as Villarreal held on for the maximum point. Meanwhile, Sivasspor did not parade their top scorer Olarewaju Kayode for the game. Olarewaju Kayode, who actually scored 4 goals in 4 matches, watched from home, but no reason was given for his omission from the game. The Turkish outfit are third on 6 points with a win against Maccabi Tel Aviv in the last group game. We'll then see them finish as group runner-up and qualify into the next round. Then we have moving on to Rangers now in Scotland, where we have Leon Balogun and Joe Aribo featuring for Rangers in the Europa League win over Belgian side Standard Liège on Thursday, as the Gears booked their place in the round of 32. Balogun was given the nod to start the game by coach Steven Gerrard, and the Nigerian international went on to play all 90 minutes. Aribo, on his own part, started from the bench, introduced in the 79th minute for Alfredo Morelos. The 25-year-old is also returning for Rangers after sitting out the last 2 matches due to illness. Rangers stretched their unbeaten run to 33 games following their Thursday 3-2 victory, and the result was enough to send them through to the round of 32 with a game to spare. Belgian visitor needed a win to keep their hope of reaching the round of 32 alive. They took an early lead when Mazim Lestin finished from close range after 6 minutes. We have Rangers reacting again, and Rangers reacting from Conor Gossin header will restore parity in the 39th minute but Liège regained their lead within a minute as Dutchkop bravely poked home the ball. Rangers reacted again and leveled the score just before the halftime as James Travella converted his 9th penalty of the season. The Gears sealed their comeback in the second half as Scott Arfield scored the winner from Ryan Kent's cross in the 69th minute. That's the much we can take on the Super Eagles watch today, and unfortunately that's the much you can take on Grand Sports Center. I remain Austin Arome, and with me is Blessed Bassey. All right, have a nice day.